Welcome everyone, thanks for joining. Today on the Joseph Carlson Show, Ford has revealed their all-new electric truck. And this is a big deal because Ford sells more trucks than anyone by far in the United States. So we're gonna take a look at this. I'll give you my reaction on the truck, the design of it, and how well I think it's gonna sell. We also have my portfolio, the goal of which is to create passive income, and we're gonna look at how I'm accomplishing that goal. We'll look at how much money I've made in dividends so far this month. Just a spoiler alert, I hit another record high. So we'll be going over how much I earned in dividends and where these dividends came from. And then, I've been looking at these TikTok gurus lately, and I thought I would take a break from that and look at one of the historical videos we have in the vault of Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft, and his reaction when the iPhone was originally released. This is a classic video, so we're going to watch this at the end of the episode. I'll give my reaction to when Steve Ballmer, the Microsoft CEO, was asked about the iPhone. So we have a lot to get to. You know the drill. If you want to help out this video, hit the thumbs up button. And if you haven't subscribed, you can consider doing so and hitting the bell icon if you want to get notifications whenever I post a video. Now, the first news item I want to jump into, I think is really big news. Ford has officially released their F-150 so that we can look at it. It's the F-150 Lightning. This is a new electric vehicle by Ford. This whole move into electric trucks, of course, started off with Tesla and the Cybertruck. They released the Cybertruck, and when we looked at it, it was a very polarizing design. Many people loved the design, and some other people not so much. The design overall was very polarizing. Then we had GM come out with the GM Hummer. It's the most similar thing that they've came out with to a truck. This was a nice design, but a very expensive vehicle that probably will price out most consumers. But now we have Ford as the latest entrant into this arena of the electric truck with the Ford F-150 Lightning. This is really important because Ford sells more trucks than any of these other companies. Ford controls roughly 32% of the market. The next closest is GM with 30%. So Ford has sold more trucks than anyone, and this is a market share that they want to keep. They don't want Tesla taking share. They don't want GM taking market share. They don't want any competitor to take market share of their most important vehicle, the truck. Ford has a loyal following for their trucks. This has become a part of American culture, and they talk about this in their promo.
We brought the car to the American people. Then we built them a truck. A hard-working partner with an unbreakable handshake. The tool that turned American spirit into American progress. But the American spirit is a restless storm. We're riding out to meet it. Driven by a century of innovation to help build a better world. It's time to stop thinking about the future and get ready for today. It's time to bring the lightning.
So far in the promo, we haven't even seen the actual truck except for the headlights. That's the only part that we've seen. But if you're watching this, you're thinking, wow, this is part of the American spirit. There's legacy here. There's a whole history with Ford vehicles, and that's exactly what their customer base enjoys, is being part of this legacy. I think that even though I'm not a truck person per se, I think that Ford understands their customers very well, and this type of advertisement is very effective. Another thing I'll mention is I think I recognize that voice on the voiceover. Is that Bryan Cranston? Is that Heisenberg? Instead of selling crystal meth now he's selling Ford trucks. An interesting change in career for him. But I do think that his voice, if I'm correct, I think that Bryan Cranston's voice is very good for these truck advertisement voiceovers. Now let's go ahead and get to the part of the promo where they actually show the truck.
It's got a targeted 775 pound-feet of torque. It's targeted to go from 0 to 60 in the mid-4-second range.
From 0 to 60 in the mid-4-second range sounds extremely fast for a truck. I think this is part of electric vehicles in general, is they're just faster. They can accelerate faster than traditional vehicles.
A driving experience that's pure, unfiltered exhilaration from the moment you hit the accelerator. Oh, and it's an F-150.
Now, my initial impression is that this is a normal looking truck. For people that are wanting a normal looking electric truck, they're going to pick this over the Tesla. The Tesla is not a normal looking truck, and many people like that. They're going to buy the Tesla instead. They'll be buying the Cybertruck. But for people that want the more traditional design, in fact, this one is so traditional that I'd have a difficult time distinguishing it between this and a normal ICE vehicle. It looks just like the rest of their lineup. So I think they went with a lot safer of an option here. They designed it just like the rest of their trucks that are proven to sell really well. And I don't think that Ford wanted to take any big risks with this vehicle. It's very important for them to keep their market share. So I think they went with the safest bet in order to do that.
Introducing the all-electric F-150 Lightning, the smartest, most innovative F-150 we've ever built. Iconic F-150 capability meets advanced technology, meets electrification. For an experience that's more connected, more dynamic, and more unexpected than ever before. But even when it's not being driven, it's still got the ability to amaze. Starting with Ford Intelligent Backup Power, which gives you the ability to offboard up to 9.6 kilowatts of power, enough to power a home for about 3 days.
So this truck acts as a backup battery power for your entire house, and it can really power a normal home for 3 days, which is pretty incredible because people's power does go out from time to time. If you have a truck sitting in your garage that can power your entire home, well, that's something that a lot of people I think would find very valuable.
And with the available 9.6 kilowatt Pro Power onboard, you get 11 plugs.
Now, this is part of the design that I think is incredibly useful. It has a lot of power options in the bed of the truck. If you want to use any of your power tools, you can hook up right in the back of your truck.
Enough power to keep your mobile business running. Or if you've got a table saw, a blender, a circular saw, a fan, a can opener, a kettle, a slow cooker, and a juicer that need powering, the F-150 Lightning is up to the task. Then, when the truck needs powering on the go, it's got access to the Ford Pass charging network. Easy to access, easy to customize, easy to pay for through the Ford Pass app. And at the front end of all this power, popping the hood has been completely redefined.
This is another big part that separates the EVs from the traditional trucks. You can store all of your tools, for instance, in the trunk of your truck. And I think that this is especially useful because a lot of truck owners that use it for construction and they have a lot of expensive tools that they've collected over the years, well, they don't want them to get stolen. And having them in the bed of their truck makes it so if they stop at the hardware store, well, somebody might run off with their tools. Well, storing it in the trunk of your truck means that it's safe from being stolen because it's out of sight and you can lock it up.
With the Mega Power Frunk, a walk-in closet that you can drive with 400 liters of storage, capable of hauling up to 400 pounds. Standard with 2.4 kilowatts of power up front, with 4 120-volt and 2 USB outlets. Storage that's customizable and lockable. The Mega Power Frunk is quite possibly the most useful innovation since the truck bed. Then, at the nerve center of all this capability, you get an available 15.5-inch touchscreen, which can be used to activate 4 different drive modes and access an impressive range of productivity-enhancing technologies. And most importantly, you get an F-150 Lightning with power-up, over-the-air software updates. That means you get a truck that's connected to engineers at Ford. If they find a way to enhance features, quality, experiences, capability, and convenience, it's possible to receive those updates wirelessly.
This is something that a lot of people have been concerned about with other vehicles, is can they receive these updates without going into the dealership? Can they receive them over the air through wireless updates like the Teslas can? Well, Ford made sure to point out here that you can receive over the air wireless updates and that this vehicle will be one of those that learns and gets smarter over time.
Then, when the workday is over, 100% charging overnight. And it's designed to look like a truck because that's what it is.
I'm pretty sure that he just threw a little shade at Tesla, saying this is designed to look like a truck because that's what it is. Interesting that he'd point that out. I think that's a direct jab at Tesla and the Cybertruck.
The next chapter of Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 44 years running. It's not just another new EV. It's over a century of innovation and human insight, manifested in a revolutionary new pickup. It's a trusted workhorse, made more thrilling and useful than ever. It's the moment when Ford took electric and turned it into lightning. It's the only all-electric truck that's built Ford tough. It's the all-new F-150 Lightning.
So that's it. That's the new F-150 Lightning. This is Ford's first move into the EV truck market. Now, how are investors reacting to this news? Well, first of all, Ford has had a difficult past 5 to 10 years. The stock has been on a long downward trend from 2016 to 17 to 18 to 19. Into 2020, the stock fell like crazy along with the rest of the stock market. But then it started to recover. And in fact, Ford stock is now up about 150% over the trailing 1 year. And if we zoom in on the 1 year period, we can see that after this vehicle was revealed, the F-150 Lightning, it renewed investors' optimism about Ford's future. The stock is up about 28% since the reveal of this new vehicle. And I think that this renewed optimism from investors is probably deserved. I think that Ford deserves it because this reveal, this new truck, I think is about as good as it can get for Ford creating an electric vehicle. It has a normal design, it has very good stats and metrics across the board, it's at a reasonable price, and I think it will appeal strongly to their entire customer base. So my prediction is this will be a good seller for Ford, but we don't know for sure, only time will tell. Now, moving on, I want to jump into my portfolio and give a quick update. This is the passive income account. The whole purpose of this portfolio is to grow an additional revenue stream so that someday I can be less reliant on my primary income. Now, I'm trying to accomplish that by investing in a diversified portfolio of dividend growth companies. These are companies that have capital appreciation, they're growing their business, they're expanding, but they also pay passive income through the form of dividends. Now, if you want to see all the holdings in my portfolio, there's an updated link in the description. You can click on that, and then you can click through any of these pies. So I left that in the description. But a couple things I want to point out here. First of all, is I bought into the company Texas Roadhouse when it was at what I thought was a pretty big discount. You can see that I'm in the green by a good portion on this one. I bought it after the restaurant was struggling because of COVID, because at the time, Texas Roadhouse, just out of an abundance of safety, completely froze their dividend. They froze it. They said they're not paying their dividend anymore, and they didn't give any outlook of when they're going to reinstate the dividend. Well, what I learned is that Texas Roadhouse has reinstated their dividend, so the dividend's back with an 11% increase. So not only have they reinstated the dividend, but they've increased the amount that they're paying shareholders 11% over their previous dividend. And that's going to be paid to me next month. This shows that you don't want to be too strict with the rules and always sell every company that cuts their dividend right away. You want to look at the circumstances. I looked at Texas Roadhouse, and in many of my previous videos, when I explained why I'm buying it, I said that I think that they're going to return the dividend very quickly because the company's not struggling, and it makes no sense to keep their dividend frozen when the company's in good standing. So this company's doing great. It continues to expand. Now they've reinstated their dividend, and they're paying out shareholders even more. I've likewise made the prediction with Disney. I do not believe that they're going to keep their dividend frozen forever. I don't know when they're going to return it. They have a lot of things that they're doing right now with their streaming service and creating content, but I think they're going to return the dividend over time. My prediction is that Disney will return the dividend after their parks are fully open, fully operational, and they have all that excess cash flow, which is really a lot of money for Disney. It's almost too much money for them to know what to do with. So once they have that return of their free cash flow, their operating margins, with their parks being fully open, I think they'll look at reinstating the dividend. But that might take a while. It might be a year for Disney. I'm patient with the holding, and I'm willing to wait for that. Now, looking at the growth of my passive income over time is pretty incredible. In May 3rd, I was paid $224 from AT&T. If you hold the company through the ex-dividend date, you get paid the dividend even if you sell it after. So even though I sold AT&T and bought another holding, SCHD, from that proceed, I still get paid the AT&T dividend. That's $224 in cash May 3rd. Then on May 3rd again, Verizon paid me $10.64. On May 6th, JEPI paid me $131. On May 7th, I got paid $6 from MasterCard. This is a low-yielding company, but they continue to grow their dividend over time. On May 13th, I got paid $44.69 from Apple. On May 14th, I got paid $61 from AbbVie, and also $29 from Costco, and also $15 from Realty Income Corp. So far this month, with all of these payments combined, I've been paid over $550 in dividends. This is true passive income. Money that's constantly deposited into my account that I don't have to lift a finger for. I don't have to clock in for. I don't have to do anything for it. If I never contributed a dime to this account again, I would continue to get paid these dividends over and over and over again, and they would grow over time and compound. So that's the whole goal of this portfolio. That's what I stay focused on. Even though we talk about other news and other events going on, in the background, I'm being paid dividend after dividend, and that passive income really does start to add up. This is something that you can see visualized. If I look at my dividend tracking graph here, this is something available to patrons. I would release it free for everybody, but unfortunately, it uses a lot of paid for data from an external API provider. So I'm not able to do that. But if we look at my monthly dividend income, you can see the growth of this over time, month by month. There's some times where it dips down, and that's normal, just like being invested in the market. There's some months where you're going to lose money and some where you're going to gain money, but over time, it should be going up. With the combination of depositing new money and reinvesting your paid dividends, you get a huge compounding effect. And that's what I'm seeing with this portfolio. I can also look at this and see a pipeline of officially declared dividends that are going to be paid to my account. I can see that we have Visa that's going to pay soon, Texas Roadhouse, that's one I just talked about, Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft is paying, Target, Realty Income Corp, and Nike. These are the ones that so far have declared their dividend. As more companies declare their dividend next month, this bar chart will continue to fill out and populate with the new companies that have declared. So that's the progress that I see on this portfolio. And I see a lot of people having similar progress where they're generating a lot of passive income. There's some people on my Discord that they generate a ton more passive income than I do. They're earning thousands of dollars a month in dividends, and it's pretty incredible to see. Even though your portfolio in capital gains might waver up and down from week to week, this week I'm up $3,300, 1.35%. That's pretty good. It's a little bit better than the S&P 500, but it's nothing that can't be reversed if the market goes down. What happens over time is the earned dividends continually stack up, and they buy new shares of these companies. They constantly are being reinvested, and that's proven to be a huge factor in helping your portfolio compound. So I'm going to continue on with this goal. I'll give you updates. I'll show you companies that I think are of good value, that they offer a lot of growth opportunity and capital appreciation, but they also typically pay passive income as well. That's what this portfolio is for, and I'll be highlighting those companies and those holdings in the future. Now, moving on, I've had a few episodes now where we look at some TikTok gurus and I give my reaction. We have some laughs there, but I want to step up the game a little bit in this episode and look at Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft. Now, this was when the first iPhone was revealed, and this video encapsulates the entire attitude of Steve Ballmer and his tenure over Microsoft. A good sign of a CEO, something that I like to look for, is humility. A CEO that's humble. A CEO that respects their competition and respects the fierceness of competition that exists in our capitalist world. That's something that you look for in a CEO. You want one that realizes the threats to their company, realizes the innovation of different competitors, and they have specific, competent plans of how to compete with their competitors. Now, that's one attribute I look for in a good CEO. Let's listen to Steve Ballmer's response to being asked about the first iPhone.
Steve, let me ask you about the iPhone and the Zune, if I may. The Zune was getting some traction, then Steve Jobs goes to Macworld and he pulls out this iPhone. What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine.
This is the attitude that epitomizes Steve Ballmer. First of all, it's being wrong on everything. Look at any interview from the past with Steve Ballmer, and the exact opposite is true of his predictions. So whatever he's saying, whatever he's predicting, the exact opposite is what happens. He's wrong on every single thing A to Z. Now, this also encapsulates his attitude, not one of humility, not one of respecting his competition. He has hubris. He's scoffing and laughing at the iPhone, saying $500? Who would ever buy a phone for $500? Well, it turns out, Steve, that a lot of people would pay $500 for the best device that they can carry in their pocket. In fact, consumers weren't concerned so much about the price as the functionality. And then to further illustrate how unimaginative he was, he says that it's never going to be successful because it doesn't have a keyboard, so it's not going to be a good email machine. This is the person you have leading the top technology company of the time. Someone saying that the iPhone won't be successful because it doesn't have a physical keyboard and it's not going to make a good email machine. This is the problem all along with Steve Ballmer. Now, of course, we have Satya Nadella leading Microsoft, who has completely reinvented the company. And it's interesting because the advice that he was given, I do agree with him that I think it was the best advice he could have possibly been given by his predecessors.
The best advice I got from both Bill and Steve, I think helped me a lot, because their clear message was, don't try to be like us. Don't even bother to sort of say, oh, I'm succeeding these people. Just be your own.
That's the best advice that he got, and I agree with him. The best advice you could give to the new CEO of Microsoft is to not be anything like Steve Ballmer. So at least Steve Ballmer did that. He gave him some good handing off advice to say, hey, all the stuff that I did, don't try to be like me. Don't try to do anything like me. That was the best advice that Steve Ballmer could have given to the new CEO, Satya Nadella. But either way, Microsoft is in much better hands now. Now, that's all for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification. It's also available on every major podcast service, so you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify as well. Other than that, I will see you in the next episode.